Hey everyone, this is Mike here, and I'm here with Isaac,
Hello.
and we're here to talk about the Sony State of Play that happened very recently. It was a big announcement before the Summer Game Fest kicks off, and yeah, there's a
When's
whole
Summer Game Fest? That's what, this week?
yeah, it's this week.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
but
I did not know that. Okay.
there's also going to be a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like other conferences, a bunch of other conferences going to happen during the whole event. But yeah, this is Sony basically
Get
uh
ahead of it.
getting the first start for the whole showcase for other games. But there was a couple of games here and there that I was interested. Most for the most part, I would definitely say it was kind of not a lot of stuff that appealed to me, but one big thing that I was looking forward to was the game from the whole Unseen developers, the which is basically from the team that made Ghostwire Tokyo, and that's Kamuri, which is basically a game where you run around as like a yokai hunter, and you basically hunt yokais with your friends online, which is pretty cool. One thing that a lot of people, or actually a few of my friends, have stated that it looks like a Japanese version of Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac, which is a game that we're, speaking of Insomniac, where they did recently reveal extended gameplay for Marvel Wolverine, which we'll probably get into. But yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to this game because just the whole style and the flow and the whole theming definitely appeals to me. And yeah, that's definitely one big game. So another game. What are you particularly looking forward to?
Um, you know what? I really didn't get a chance to really jump into see so much of the stuff like that, but I guess we're going to jump right into it. I'm just going to say Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Popped up was one of the big ones that sat down. Finally, this game's been in development for what 6, 7 years at the moment. We haven't really heard much of anything when it got released, and now we finally got this opportunity to actually see the gameplay as well as we actually for the first time. And it honestly looks good. I think it looks pretty decent. Looks really good. They definitely through what they showed in the trailer, they showed much of the stealth part of the game, and I think it
Mm-hmm.
was really cool in terms. I am very curious to see how they do the heal factor situation because again, Wolverine is a character that technically can't die because his power is the heal factor. It's not the claws. So I noticed what was the bar and how the UI is set up.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that I think they it seems like, or maybe they're also taking a play from the old Wolverine game that came out that was the movie tie-in. I think
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine, I think X-Men's Wolverine's Revenge. I think that was the name of the game. That had a certain mechanic where if you take too much damage, you can die,
Mm-hmm.
but as you go through the game, you'll be able to sit down and regenerate. And I think there was even a moment in there where there was a quick time situation where he took a lot of damage, where
Damage.
you have to rapidly press a button to regenerate your healing factor. So
Yeah.
I think there was some very interesting game mechanics. Also showed other X-Men characters in the game. It showed a glimpse of Jean Grey,
Yes.
Sabretooth, Omega Red, and Mystique
Mystique.
in the
Yeah.
game that was played. As well, there's some interesting tag team mechanics too. But I'm guessing Jean Grey is going to be an NPC character that you just kind of bounce off of. I don't think she's playable in the Wolverine game. Not expect that again. It's a Wolverine game. But other than that, to kind of see that in motion, yeah, Wolverine's coming out, and yeah, I thought that was one of the more interesting games to sit down and pop up. Other than that, so I'm gonna pass the ball back to you. What was your next
Mm-hmm.
game that
I
you enjoyed?
mean, I mean the new Knights of Doom team, pretty cool, especially considering they have Green Goblin as a playable character for I believe the first time in a fighting game,
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
his
That's pretty cool.
playstyle is definitely like a crazy floater zoner kind of character, which is was occasional rush down capabilities. It's just pretty cool. Magneto, a very obvious pick, but a welcome one. He's usually very popular in these Marvel fighting games. But Carnage
Carnage.
instead of Venom, that's the first, and he looks like he very much plays like Venom, except he does have this unique mechanic where he gains more damage the more aggressively you play him, which I think is really cool. And just overall, just team is just awesome. Just because obviously I think that games like this, especially in the Marvel universe, always need more villains. And as a matter of fact, I really hoping that Doom, Green Goblin, and Carnage become playable villains in Marvel Rivals, because that game desperately needs more playable villains. Because I believe there's only four or five actual villains in the game, and the rest are kind of just anti-heroes, or just questionable heroes that flip-flop between being heroes and villains. We need more dedicated villains in that game for sure. Other game? Is there anything else particular?
Rayman. I think
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
finally getting a
true.
Rayman remastered, and I think honestly, this is the first game that honestly looks really, really good. It's not on this website; it's right there. It's gonna arrive in fall. But other than that, to see actually Rayman, to see the complete remaster of the game, honestly looks very good. Even though with all the situations that happen with Ubisoft right now, it seems like Ubisoft's plan is to make a lot of remasters right now at the moment. So it doesn't actually hurt to actually see Rayman coming back to more of its traditional platform and roots. However, with this version of the game too, it's also kind of taking that Crash Bandicoot from back to the PlayStation One moment with a lot of 3D angles and stuff like that. And I think it even borrows a little bit from a game called the Trine. You remember that
Yeah,
game
trying.
Trine, like
Yes.
too? It kind of takes a little bit in terms of the design and the gameplay aspect of that too. But to kind of see, finally a Rayman game in well developed 3D, I think it's a sight to behold too. So, yeah, sitting down and enjoying about that. Looking forward to it when it gets released on PC. I know this is PlayStation though, but yep, that game's going to be released on PC. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of actually surprising that Ubisoft even cared about Rayman. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. Coming out in October.
Very much so. What? And then I guess for another particular game, that I'm interested in again is Phantom Blade Zero. Phantom Blade Zero. I mean, it looks amazing and very unique for these hack and slash type of games, because again, one of the biggest things that I think is really cool about Phantom Blade Zero's combat is that it looks less like a brawl and more like a choreographed dance with how the enemy, how the player fights and moves. And I think that just very cool when you see everything just flowing together, how he's just attacking and dodging at the same time and just moving all over the place, and it's just very, very flowing animation. And I rarely see that in in a hack and slash game
It
like
feels
this.
very akin to Hong Kong cinema back in the 70s and 80s
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the game's style, or and if you want to go a little bit of Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or even Iron Monkey, in terms of its fighting style, or even the House of Flying Daggers, it kind of presents that kind of aesthetic into a video game. Which, again, seeing that gameplay, I mean, what was it like 2, 3 years ago? I think it was like 2 years ago they introduced Phantom Blade Zero. In terms
Mm-hmm.
of the gameplay, it's been in the development for a very long time, though. But no, the gameplay again also looks very exciting. A lot of these action platformer games was really under really was under center today, in the state of play. A lot of these big major platformers and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm. Awesome, totally. I guess the last thing we want to talk about, and then leading to our next big discussion, is the new God of War game. Now, this game, it has received a lot of mixed reception, considering that it is a God of War game where you play as
You play as Lao Fei.
Lao Fei, which
Lao Fei, which was the mother in the first game,
the first rebooted game,
reboot
right? Yeah.
of Ragnarok. Yeah. Apparently, spoiler alert, she dies in that game. So I guess this is her story where she's basically in heaven, or I believe in some kind of limbo, where it
Mm-hmm.
seems like all I think gods tend to go to when they die or when they transition to the afterlife. I really didn't get much of the. That's what I think I got from much of the story. People were gonna sit down and correct me wrong. Again, I have to sit down and watch the trailer again, but that's what it feels like. But again, overall, this really seems to be more of an extension of the God of War. This is not a it's a God of War game, um, by name, but overall, it feels like it has its own flow. It feels like it has its own design. Um, I, I, I get that some people might feel like it doesn't feel God of War only simply by name alone and only by
Mm-hmm.
certain references and stuff like that. But other than that, it's really just feels like it's a uniquely owned game by itself. But at the end of the day, it's a spin-off. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
spin-off doing its own thing that's yes, it might have the God of War name, but it's completely doing its own unique thing. So to that, I'm not anti against that because it's really its own game exploring a different venue of the God of War series. And I think in this game it's going to explore more of I believe what Chinese and Egyptian mythology,
I believe someone said Mongolian, which is
Mongolian mythology,
yeah, I believe so.
in this game, which I'm shocked that no one's took an offense that it's a white chick. Although again, all these characters are fantasy and mythology characters, so really at the end of the day, it's people just want to be offended by some shit. But other than that, no, from what the game in terms of the gameplay, it looks very good, looks fun, looks interesting in terms of what they're doing. Very hack and slash. Felt like it had some bit of some
Devil May Cry,
DMC
yeah, I get
mechanic
it.
gameplay that I sat down and I noticed, as well as some interesting tag teams between using the cube and a sword and all that other stuff. Which she has, and she has unique magic powers. Which I think, in terms of the gameplay and the cool stuff that was happening in the game in the trailer, I thought it was very unique and I thought it was very different too, in terms of how it was played. So, yeah. Other than that, yeah, to me, I looked very impressed. I thought it was like a fun game that looked kind of impressed. So
I mean, me personally, I'm not particularly interested in the God of War games, at least the new God of War games, the modern God of War games, because of the whole third person camera, the slower paced gameplay, and all of it, and the whole theming of like Kratos wanting to be like settled down and stuff like that. I'm not into that. The original God of War games from the PS2 era is what I'm more interested in because it was more of a Western take on like that Devil May Cry combat style, and I'm definitely more into that than into this. I mean, I'm sure that obviously there's an audience for this, but it's not. But I'm not. I'm definitely not the audience for this kind of game, and I'm not too sure about other people being it because again, I did mention that there it's uh some mixed.
David Daffy came out and talked about his opinion on the game. Now, for everybody that knows him,
Mhm.
he was the original creator of the God of War series back in the day, in the early 2000s, on PlayStation 2, and then moving forward when he did the original trilogy. And yeah, and pretty much it. He thought this game kind of looks like shit, and he said that if it didn't have the God of War. I'm paraphrasing what he said. There was a lot more that he talked about, but he said if it didn't have the God of War
Name on it,
name
then
on it,
nobody would care.
nobody would sat down and care.
Hmm.
And into that, I would say if it again, I get it. It doesn't feel like a God of War game where the game, in a sense, felt very more gritty. More, I
Hmm.
get it. He mentioned how there's no blood and no violence and um within the franchise. But again, it's a spin-off. Like it's not truly affecting the God of War franchise. Like it's a different apologize. It's a different continuity. Like it's its own side quest, pretty much, in the universe. It's expanding on the complete universe on that. So, um, for him, again, even I can understand that though, but no, no. From what I saw, it looked interesting. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I
Just
mean,
gameplay and its style.
yeah, I mean, again, you can see comments are very like split. They're very split on this. Like a lot of people saying like, no, David Jaffe is a has been. And I'm not gonna lie, I did say that about him a while back. That David Jaffe is a bit of a has been when it comes to the gaming space, because obviously he's not with Sony Santa Monica anymore, and he obviously doesn't own the franchise anymore, and he's has some questionable takes on just the gaming industry in general. More specifically, his opinion on women, sitting on how people need to, like, respect women and stuff like that, and then him coming out and saying that this game looks like shit when it stars like Kratos' wife, and he's like he's just like flip floppy. And it's just like when it comes to his opinion, I can generally don't understand what his principles are at this point. But the way I see it, I really just don't. I'm not into this game. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that enter this game, but I'm definitely not the target audience for this game.
That's fair. And that's totally I understand that's totally fair. But again, we're living in this society right now when it comes to games like this, where it seems like it starts female characters, where if it's not your take of a certain female design or character, then it feels like it's being pushed an agenda right now. And again, I didn't feel like you're getting this from this game. I think again, it's just a simply different spin-off with interesting game mechanics and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that's
I
it.
think it just what people just find annoying is just that obviously it's starring Deborah Ann Wool, and her actual physical appearance is actually conventionally attractive, and then you look at how she looks in the game, and it looks like they did something to her face to make her less attractive, and it's like, what, like, why do you guys always do? There's plenty of examples of companies doing this.
I thought she looked fine. To me, I totally think she looked fine. She's recognizable, like you said. Like if you can recognize the character, what's the issue?
It's like, again, it's just like you can tell. It's like people can tell that something's off when it comes to these sort of things, and it's like we've just been, or just people have just had enough knee jerk reactions to seeing scanned in females.
It just is such a knee jerk reaction, dude. You can tell exactly who she is. It's so stupid. Like who she is. Like she's the girl who plays Karen in Daredevil, pretty much it. And I think on top of that, I think Jack Quaid's the one who plays the Cube from The Boys.
It's just
Huey.
like
Yeah, I know.
Cube
It's weird.
was so dumb with
Yeah.
that character. Like, why?
The Cube character under that. Again, it's a spin-off. It's not really affecting the God of War series in its own way. Like we're gonna get another God of War series down the road. Like we already know that. And they're already currently trying to work on remastering the trilogy, if I remember that. Bringing back the original voice, OG voice.
TTC, yeah.
So you're gonna get a lot more God of War, but from right now, at the moment, this is just a bridge that's gonna hold you off into the next God of War game. Look at it. It's more akin to the Spider-Man series, how they did Spider-Man Miles Morales. And then it led to Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
That's kind of
it.
That's pretty much what it is at the moment. And they're trying to make money off the God of War, franchise.
I mean, it's just me. It's whatever. I mean, hope it will do well. I mean, it's not like I really care too
You don't
much
care.
about this particular game,
I mean, you really
considering
care, so.
I don't have a PS5.
Yeah,
But I mean, I am hoping that obviously a handful of these other games will be on PC, but this one I'm 100% sure it's going. The God of War Lufe is going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive.
now because
they pulled out from
Sony
PC,
pulled out from
PC
exclusives now,
crossplay. Yeah,
because they're saying that nobody was able to buy it.
nobody wants to buy games on
PC. But reality is, you just never.
You put these games out way
Half-baked.
not just half baked, but years after the console release.
Well, not even that. I'm not even against. No, it's not even against the fact that you release these games years afterwards. I'm totally fine with that. The problem is when you translate these games, they're not optimized for PC use at all. Like, a lot of these games will start crashing or not even optimized or start clipping when you play these games. That's the biggest problem when it comes to PlayStation translating these games at the moment.
Well,
and then anyone sit there and blame it that people don't want to buy it. No, because you don't do a good job optimizing any of these games when you put it on PC to begin with.
True, but I do gotta admit that putting these games out years after they've been on console does diminish its value, because you've at that point the game is already out. There's already cutscenes. People have already played it on Twitch. Until you release it on PC,
yeah, but I think
your interest kind of dies down.
After that point, it's just like, if you're gonna buy these games, like I still want to get like Spider-Man on PC, because at the end of the day, like the last time I played Spider-Man was on the PlayStation 4. To me, I still want to be able to play these games, because I know playing on PC would, quote unquote, should give you the best of optimization. As much as we love playing on console, playing on PC, being the PC head, you want to be able to sit down and expand those games as much as you want.
Yeah, I'm not.
So that's what I'm saying.
I'm not diminishing the fact that optimization for PC games is an issue. It's kind of always been an issue for these console ports for games.
Well, 100%.
When you did that, and I'm not just saying that releasing these games late also plays a role in that. And obviously there's also on the lighter side, people have an issue with some of the creative choices that a lot of these games go through from their original PS4 to PS5 releases and stuff like that, like Last of Us. The changes that The Last of Us has gone through, the changes that the Spider-Man games have gone through, obviously it's also going to diminish sales a lot. And then Sony looking at this, I guess we just shouldn't put our games on PC anymore. It's just very short-sighted for them. But yeah, the triple A industry and short-sightedness is kind of goes hand in hand at this point. So
yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, that's basically all we want to talk about. What did you think about the whole state of play? Any particular games you're interested in? Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to in the future as the state of play? As the whole Summer Games Fest kicks off, let us know. We're probably going to do another video on this, the Summer Games Fest. But until then, if you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike with Isaac, and we are saying peace.
And keep an open mind.